live on TV from 6 to 7 p.m. But if you can make it, join us at Pit Stick Pavilion, starting at 3 in the afternoon. We've got a lot of things going on. I know any number of these guys that are here tonight are going to be joining us as well. And so we're going to try and do what Carol Davis describes as showing the country that not all the good people have left Illinois. So it's going to be a really special evening. If you can join us, that would be wonderful. If you can't, there's a variety of platforms to watch on, but the easiest one would be americasvoice.news. americasvoice.news, starting at 6 p.m. You can see us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. The more people watch, the more they know. The better chance we have of having another event like this come back to town, back to Illinois. So thank you very much. I know you want to hear from the governor, so we're going to get to that right now. Gentlemen, we're going to go in order, and then after that, you're going to each get 2 minutes to answer each question that we do, and I'll alternate who starts the question. And so for the first question, the fact is that the Illinois Constitution, in Article 7, provides that the state of Illinois will have a balanced budget. And although the language in the Constitution is a little messy, the fact is it requires a balanced budget. But for all practical purposes, we have not had a balanced budget since 2001. Senator Bailey, what would you do to enforce that provision in the Constitution so that the state has, in fact, a balanced budget?
Absolutely. That's one reason that I'm here. I railed against the 2018 budget, the 2017, in July 2017, whenever our state assembly passed a 32% tax increase. It's wrong. You know, our Constitution also says that within 60 days you should have your Foid card, and then people are waiting a year and a half. We will hold government accountable, and we will have a balanced budget. We will have a budget that will turn money back to your pockets.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Rabine, what would you do to enforce that provision of the Illinois Constitution?
I mean, common sense. We can't live our lives and our families without a balanced budget. I run businesses. For 40 years I've been running businesses, starting businesses, and growing businesses. We can't run a business without a balanced budget. For us to expect to run a state underwater every year is ridiculous and unacceptable.
Thank you. Senator Schimpf?
Yes. Thank you all for waiting around and giving us a chance to talk to you tonight. It is great to be here. It's very simple. As governor, you have to hold the General Assembly accountable. That is one of the big failures that J.B. Pritzker has had. There are many that we can choose, but that's what I talk about when I say the J.B. Pritzker leadership deficit. Not only does Illinois have a financial deficit, but with J.B. Pritzker as our governor, we have a leadership deficit as well. I will veto any budget that is not balanced. You can look at my voting record back in, I guess it was 2019, J.B. Pritzker's first budget. Unfortunately, almost all the Republicans, including the Republican leadership in the Illinois General Assembly, voted for that budget. I voted no because that budget made our problem, our long-term financial challenges worse. So you can look at my voting record. I will hold the General Assembly accountable.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Solomon, what would you do as governor to enforce the Illinois Constitution provision for a balanced budget?
Thank you for that question. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sheriff Clark was right. Illinois is broken. As far as the budget is concerned, it's simple math. You can't spend more than you earn. That's basic, that's arithmetic, right? As long as Illinois spends more than it earns, then our budget is not going to be balanced. Now, there's a problem here. Why our budget is not balanced? And that's pension. We cannot ignore the problem of the pension, right? We are in deep debt. First of all, because of the pension crisis. I am going to address the problem, and that's where the solutions are going to come from.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Gentlemen, the last I looked, saw that Illinois had the second highest property taxes in the nation. Somebody among this group today, Mr. Rabine, indicates that his belief is that we have the first highest property taxes in the nation. Either way, it's not good. But at any rate, Illinois also has the largest number of taxing bodies of any state in the union. We have 6,963 bodies across the state of Illinois that are able to impose taxes on the people of the state of Illinois. Most of those are property taxing bodies. Mr. Rabine will be first in this question, in which case the question turns out to be, what about any kind of consolidation, or does Illinois need to almost 7,000 individual government units? And what can be done about property taxes?
Yeah, so I argue that we're number one. I mean, hate to be number one at anything like this, right? But when we look at the increase in taxes in the city of Chicago in the last couple of years, since we've seen the last data, we're definitely number one or really close to New Jersey. And it's a bad thing to be, right? Terrible thing to be number one or two in this situation. And what people don't understand is, it's not like we're just like 20-30% higher than the average of the country. We're like 300% of the average of the country. The average property tax in our country is right around 1%, 1.2 to be exact. For a $100,000 house, that's $1,000, $1,200, right? In Illinois, we're pushing $3,000 on that same house. Yeah, that's craziness, right? This isn't sustainable. It's not fair to homeowners whose values go down on an annual basis instead of up like they should. With appreciation and inflation, our homes should be going up in value by 4 or 5% a year, like most states. Unfortunately, over the last 15 years, our values overall have gone down in value in Illinois, which is craziness. So again, we need to change that. It's been done across the country in many states. Indiana was an example in 2009. Mitch Daniels drove the property taxes to 1% of the value of the home. And guess what? Over the time, over the same 11-year period, they've gone up over 100% in value, while we've gone down. Okay? This is theft. This is tax theft, and we need to change it. And of course, as Mr. Solomon said, it's going to be tightening the belt in a lot of ways. And this state, unfortunately, doesn't understand how to tighten the belt. The leader we have, unfortunately, don't know if he's ever tightened the belt in his life. So, again, it's a serious issue we got to go after. It's not a joke because we're being stolen from right now. Not only initial taxes, but the values of our homes and our values of our properties are less than anywhere in the country in comparison.
Thank you, Mr. Rabine. Senator Schimpf, would you do anything to consolidate the multiple units of government that are across the state and utilize that to address property taxes?
Well, I grew up in Southern Illinois, and I left in 1989 to go to the U.S. Naval Academy. I was gone in the military for 24 years, and then when my time in the Marine Corps was over, I did the opposite of what most people are doing. Instead of leaving Illinois, I brought my family back. But we came back because we wanted to be close to family and we love the state. But there were two big reality checks when we got back. The first one was it cost about $400 to transfer license plates back to Illinois. And then we've been back about a year, and our property taxes on the home that we bought went up by a couple $1,000. Just absolute sticker shock. When we were, my wife is a substitute school teacher. I was running for Illinois Attorney General at the time. But it absolutely devastated our pocketbook. So I understand the impact that property taxes have. That's one of the reasons, frankly, why we are going to win the governor's election, because Illinois recognize that the Democrats have not done anything whatsoever to try to solve the property tax problem. Gary mentioned, that there's been some stuff that's been done in Indiana. We look at a cap. There's also other states that have looked at constitutional amendments that say that, hey, if the property taxes go up too high, too fast, all of a sudden these municipalities can't even collect any property tax at all. There's ideas out there, but unfortunately the state of Illinois and the Democrats haven't done anything about it at all. All they brag about is spending more money. When I was driving up here, there were billboards saying that Democrats delivered. Well, Democrats have delivered. They have delivered higher taxes. They have delivered more government. And that's why the people of Illinois are going to be ready for a change. We absolutely have to do something about property taxes, and we have to consolidate our government. There's no reason for us to have almost 7,000 units of government in Illinois.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Solomon, your thoughts on the multiple units of government and the Illinois property taxes?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. One of the top items, one of the top 3 of my policy agenda is actually consolidation. Now I'm going to start from the top. Under the executive government of the state of Illinois, there are 25 agencies. 25 agencies, and I took my time to read through what they do. And one of the things you're going to find out about the government in Illinois, first of all, it's too big. And secondly, many government units are doing the same exact thing. So there are duplicative services at many levels of government. And then you get your tax bill. Each one of these agencies are asking you for your tax dollars. Number one, we need to consolidate. Like, for example, I don't know the difference really between the comptroller and the treasurer. Those are 2 offices that could be combined. It didn't used to be that way, right? As an example. Number 2, property taxes. As long as our education system are funded on the backs of property taxes, all the Democrats can do is increase your property tax. Again, we have to identify the problem in order to find a solution. Right? They're going to keep taxing us. And there is a big elephant in the room for Illinois, which is the pension crisis. It goes up 19% every year. We can't pay it at the rate that it's going. We need to address the pension crisis. We're going to save up a lot of money so that we can get back on the business of the Constitution, which provides that the state is supposed to fund education, not my property taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Senator Bailey.
The state of Florida has a third more of the population, at least, than the state of Illinois does. Yet the state of Florida has 1/3 of the government units that the state of Illinois has. So there's a case in point that certainly government can be shrunk. We have to bring communities, we have to bring schools to the table, because quite honestly, one of the reasons that we have high property taxes is that we keep building nice schools, we keep building nice city halls. Those things cost money. Currently, those things come from property taxes. So we have to set the communities down across the state and help them to understand what this is costing. And if we certainly begin to live within our means, we can certainly get our property taxes less. Unfunded mandates in our schools must be completely removed. Our schools must be returned to our school boards. Our local community must determine how they want our children educated. In the recent laws that were passed, our police are no longer funded by the state, but it's pushed back on our property taxes. These body cams that these police departments are going to be purchasing, unfunded mandate. They're told what they must do, yet we must pay for them. I will institute a zero-based budget, meaning the first day, day one, not the end of May. Every agency and department will start at 0, and they will show you and I where their spending is, every dollar.
Thank you, Senator. For the next question, I'm going to introduce Will County's youngest precinct committeeman. Kyle Clare is the precinct committeeman. And yeah, come on all the way up. All the way up. And so, ladies and gentlemen, and we will start this question with Senator Schimpf.
Okay. Thank you, Dave, for that. Hello, candidates. I am Kyle Clare. I'm 18 years old. And as you know, the governor is the controller of our state school system as guaranteed by the 10th Amendment. Now, with the mass immigration of people leaving the state of Illinois, what is your plan to make sure that all graduating seniors in Illinois, like myself, enroll in an Illinois public university? And we will start with Mr. Schimpf.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for that question. And that actually goes to my proudest legislative accomplishment when I was in the Illinois General Assembly. Oh, there. A little bit better now? Okay. Now, your question touches on something that I worked on when I was in the Illinois General Assembly. It was in 2018. It was the Higher Education Working Group, which was a group that came together. It was bipartisan, bicameral, and the idea was that we were going to try to help universities make sure that they could recruit and retain our best students in Illinois. That working group came together. We didn't care who actually got the credit, and we were able to make some fundamental changes to our state scholarship programs. So that is an issue that, the issue that you identified is a key issue, because if we can't keep our young people in Illinois, we're not going to be able to turn the state around. A lot of times, the media likes to talk about, I'll go ahead and switch back so I can talk to everybody now, but the media likes to talk about different metrics, unemployment. They talk about gross domestic product. But really, there are two key metrics. The first metric, the one that's economic, is how many people are either coming to Illinois or leaving our state. From July of 2019 to July of 2020, our state had a net population loss of nearly 80,000 people. And unless we have an economic climate, a freedom climate where people want to come to Illinois, raise their families, grow their businesses, we can never solve any of our challenges, whether it's funding education, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's getting the pensions under control. We're not going to be able to solve any of those problems unless people want to come to Illinois. That is the key metric. Not the unemployment rate, not the GDP, it's whether or not people are wanting to come to Illinois. And you know what? When J.B. Pritzker gave his State of the State speech, he didn't even mention that. He didn't even level with the people of Illinois. And that's why I say there is an additional metric to talk about whether or not people are going to want to stay in Illinois, whether we're going to solve our problems. And that metric is whether J.B. Pritzker is our governor. Because we will not turn our state around until we fire J.B. Pritzker, and one of us up here is going to do that.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Solomon.
Thank you for that question. There are 3 documents that I carry with me everywhere I go. Whenever you see me, you can stop me, and those 2 documents will be around me or on me. The U.S. Constitution, Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the Holy Bible. That question is very important because I look straight into the Constitution of the State of Illinois, Article 10, right? It provides that education shall be free. That's one of the goals of this state, a constitutional goal. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I didn't inherit the Constitution by birth. I swore into it. I raised my right hand and became a citizen of the United States and the state of this great state, and I swore an oath. Thank you. I take that very, very, very seriously. As an attorney, I'm also subscribed to the rule of law. I follow the law. The Constitution provides for education. Here's how we can become competitive as far as our education. We need to find a way to sponsor education up to college level, up to at least a 2-year college level, and offer alternatives, right? Trade schools, right? Technical schools, right? And we need to focus attention on raising a new generation of people who are not only book smart, but technical smart, math smart, and in whatever trade they choose, it's available for them to pursue. And that's how we can remain competitive.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Senator Bailey, retaining Illinois students for Illinois universities.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I think we all respect President Donald Trump for selecting his choices for the court settings all over the United States for the past 4 years. Let's not forget that the governor of Illinois, who do you think places the board for higher education? Who do you think places the members of the Illinois State Board of Education. Who do you think places the trustees to our land-grant colleges? The governor. It is time to take our schools back, and men and women of principle, conservative mindedness can do that. We are losing our future because of what we are allowing into our schools, and it is wrong. So a governor who will stand up and not play politics with this, but put men and women with a backbone of courage, of integrity in place to stand up and say no more of this junk in our schools. I believe wholeheartedly that's how we take back education from day one, from the governor's office.
Thank you.
Great question. My brother and sister-in-law were sending their kids off to school, and they really wanted to send them to University of Illinois, Northern Illinois University, and Illinois school. But they looked at Iowa, they looked at Wisconsin, they looked at other schools. They were like 20% cheaper to go out of state. I couldn't believe that. So, we're not funding our schools for enough, it seems, right? But in my opinion, I mentor people, I mentor leaders, and I've been doing this for the last 20 years of my life, mentoring leaders to lead. And it's not always a college education that creates leadership. So I believe there's thousands and thousands of kids today that are told that they must go to college. You must go to college. Where are you going to go to college? You got to have a college education. And I say that's wrong. There's many kids today that can make way more money right out of high school and a job. In the first 4 or 5 years of their lives, and their working lives, have 50, 60, 100,000 in the bank instead of $200,000 of debt. So my opinion is we need to start talking to our kids about, are you college bound? And if you're not, it's okay. It's okay not to go to college. College is a great thing. If you can afford it, if you're going to take advantage of it, if you're going to go to do something that's going to relate to a great career in your future, right? But boy, you know what? The skills training is gone in our schools. But the benefit of business today, there's 8 million jobs today unfilled. 8 million jobs unfilled right now. Because we got a crazy government that's funding people a bonus to stay home, okay? Over 8 million jobs. This is opportunity for kids today to follow into a skilled job. And in our businesses that we own, right, that we operate, we train from a high school education into a career, making better money than any kid can make coming out of college. And so my opinion is there's an abundance of opportunity for kids. We need to talk about education for sure and how we can get it to be less expensive in Illinois for Illinois students. No doubt about that. But we also need to talk about how do we inspire kids to jump into the working world, to be entrepreneurs, and be successful without a college education as well. So that's my goal is that. And so when mentoring leaders, it doesn't always take a college education to be a great leader. I'm an example of that. I'm blessed that I didn't go to college. I didn't get indoctrinated, and I understand what business is about. I understand accounting and economics better than my friends that are really highly educated. So college education is a blessing for sure, but it's not for everybody.
Thank you. Now, because we have another question for the group about law enforcement, we're going to bring back my fellow moderator, Mr. Ficcarello, the law enforcement officer, not me, him. So he has a question about law enforcement, and I believe you're going to start with Mr. Solomon.
Thank you. I would like to ask each of the governor candidates here tonight to go on the record and ascertain from them whether they would support an Illinois constitutional carry law.
Thank you, sir, for that question. Again, I remind you, I raise my right hand, I swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and its form of government. The last I checked, the Second Amendment was part of that. It's a no-brainer for me, right? I support the Constitution of the United States and I defend it. The Second Amendment is a part of it. Let's go.
Would you sign or veto a bill that proposed constitutional carry in the state of Illinois?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Senator?
Any of you that have watched my Facebook Lives, first of all, you already know. Second of all, you see a a sword in my district office that says the second protects the first. Friends, here's the deal. This Constitution that we have, that we're so proud of, that's such a wonderful and a beautiful document, all it is just a statement of what our God-given rights already are. Yeah. And it's time to retake those, reclaim those, and stand up. So absolutely, I've already been on record. I will do as such. I will do whatever it takes, because that's our solution to crime. Period. The mother that's walking her children that might be scared, that's our solution. If she's concealed carry, if she's packing, we're going to have a lot less crime, friends.
So, I was born and raised by a great father, and he always thought he was a badass, and still today at 82, he still thinks he is. When he moved to Florida for part-time, eventually he got a license down there, and he was able to conceal carry down there. He would come home and forget not to conceal carry 10 years ago, when it wasn't legal here. Well, on an October night, a cold October rainy night, he was driving down Route 12 between Spring Grove, Illinois, and Fox Lake, and a girl comes out from the side of the road waving her hands, and over a dozen cars, she said later on, had passed her by. She'd been stabbed 7 times. My dad pulled over, called 911 right away. He got out. She said, "We gotta go. She'll kill us both. We gotta go. Go towards Fox Lake." He said, "We're not going anywhere, honey." He pulled out his .38. He said, "Let him come. Let him come." He's been practicing all his life, right? So she woke up from an induced coma. She was fighting for life, barely lived, and the medical team said if he would have traveled into Fox Lake, where he would have gone if he was afraid, right, she would not have lived. She would have bled out. And so she woke up after induced coma after a few weeks, and he talked about her guardian angel. You met my dad. He's no angel, but to this girl and to me, he sure is. Okay? So again, and by the way, I did ask before I came in here, but I conceal carry. I mean, it should be a way of life for anybody that's trained to shoot a gun and understands gun safety. We should all understand that it should be a way of life for us that love safety, love shooting, right, and want to be safe. That's concealed carry in my life. So I guess the answer might be yes.
I'll go ahead and get us back on time. As a former Marine Corps infantry officer, I will unequivocally say yes. I will sign that. Just as I introduced legislation to get rid of the Foid card, and also as I voted against that stupid gun dealer licensing bill 7 times. I think I was the one who voted against that the most. But yes, I support that, and I will sign it.
Back on. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Nick. And put my 2 cents in. We had all the law enforcement officers up here before. I didn't have a chance to personally thank them for their service. Sheriff Clark and Mr. Riley, Nick Ficarella, thank all of you guys for your service. And if Mr. Canizero is still around, thank you for your service as well. I have a question from the audience, and I believe we're starting with Senator Bailey this time. And Senator, if you do not win the primary nomination, will you campaign or back and support the Republican nominee?
It's one of the problems in the past with the Republican Party. It seems like we're like a bunch of Chinese warlords fighting for our own little territory. And it is imperative that moving forward that we stick together. I'm beginning to see that with the state party. I'm seeing that out of the House. I'm seeing that out of the Senate. It is absolutely imperative that we bind together as a unit, show unity, show leadership, and move forward. So the answer is yes.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Ray.
Yeah. As Darren said, we've seen the destruction of our party over the last elections, and the last one, being in a big way, we had a big problem with what happened there, right? And we separated our party. There's no way we had a very good chance to win that thing. And so I said from the beginning, I believe I was the first one to say it. You guys can argue with me if you want to, that 100%. I'm out to win this thing, but if I don't win, I will back whoever wins 100% and bring my resources together and everything I've spent money on to help them.
Thank you very much. Senator Schimpf.
Some of you all have heard me make this analogy before, but it's worth repeating. We are all on the same team here. We are on the same team. This is like a high school basketball team. We're just doing a tryout to see who's got the best skill set to be the starting point guard. But when the time comes and we make our choice, we have to unify. Look, this election is bigger than any individual candidate. That's one of the reasons that when I announced the need for a proposed Illinois Parents' Bill of Rights, I called Leader McConkey, I called Leader Durkin, I called Chairman Tracy, and I said, look, this is an issue that can unite the party. This is something that can flip voters. The idea that it should be parents, not the government, that makes education, healthcare, and the transition just from childhood to adulthood, that needs to be controlled by parents. That is an issue that the whole party needs to get behind. And this election is bigger than any of us. This is about taking our state back, first our state, and then our country.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Solomon, will you support the Republican nominee if you should not win the nomination?
I have a message, and the message is let's fix Illinois. And that's because Illinois is broken, right? I'm coming up with policy agendas, issue positions, and I'm gonna fight like hell to get my message heard. But if I don't win the nomination, any one of these gentlemen not only would have my 199% support, I would be on the ground wherever I'm needed, working very hard for this Republican Party and to get Illinois fixed once and for all. There's too much at stake.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. I'm sure you guys are kind of familiar with what we call the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act. That on its face says that the governor can declare an emergency that lasts for 30 days. And within that 30 days, he needs to go through the legislature and have the legislature participate in how things are supposed to go forward. We are now in the midst of the 16th 30-day order from Governor Pritzker that has not been challenged by the legislature, that has unfortunately been upheld in too many ways by the courts, various lawsuits. I know that Senator Bailey's been involved in many. The question, as it turns out to be, and I believe Mr. Rabine is first in this instance, even though the courts have been holding this up, and even though there's been activities that this guy has gone forward for, now it's going to be 474 days of an emergency, would you, in fact, if there were an emergency that you declared as governor, follow the 30-day rule and go to the legislature and follow the law as it's written?
So the answer is yes. This governor is not a leader. This governor is a dictator. I mean, this governor has never served anybody in his life. He's never had customers that he had to serve. He never had to worry about making payroll or even a paycheck coming home to his family to feed his family. I believe that's a deficit. This governor has never served anybody, and he doesn't understand serving. If you're truly serving, right, this governor is truly serving, why wouldn't he collaborate? Collaborate with the best minds in the country, and especially the best minds in the state. The 177 legislators who are mostly his, right? Why wouldn't he collaborate to come up with the best solutions for our state, for the health of our state, for the health of our economy, for the physical health of our people, right? He did none of this. This is a dictatorship. This isn't the government, and this is craziness. I guarantee you that anybody in this table today knows what leadership's about. I sure do. I've been building leaders for the last 20 years of my life, and I love doing it. And building leaders is inspiring other people to do things they wouldn't do otherwise without your inspiration, right? That's what a leader is. Name one person that works for this person that you can tell has been inspired to do amazing things. No, I mean, a leader takes responsibility when things go bad and gives credit to others when things go well. Does that happen with this guy? Not once that I've seen. Okay, this isn't a leader, this isn't leadership. A leader goes by the rules, plays by the rules also, and has to negotiate with the legislators to understand, to figure out where do you go next? What do you do? What's best for the people? So this is an example of leadership, and for sure that's not me. And I know I lead in a heck of a lot better way.
Thank you, Mr. Rabine. Senator Schimpf.
Most of you all know that I deployed to Iraq as a Marine to work the trial of Saddam Hussein. I was the lead attorney advisor to the Iraqi prosecutors in that trial. And one of the good things about that experience was that gave me a lot of perspective. And one of the things that I learned over there is that the reason that Iraq is a failed state is because there is no respect for the rule of law in Iraq. Well, let me tell you something. Government by executive order is not compatible with the rule of law either. J.B. Pritzker, if he truly was a leader, he would have wanted to have maximum transparency. He would have wanted to have collaboration. As a governor and as a leader, you have to not only enforce transparency and oversight, you have to seek it out. And the first thing I will do as governor is I will rescind the culturally responsive teaching standards. That's task number one. And task number two is every single one of those J.B. Pritzker emergency executive orders going to be rescinded with the stroke of the pen. That will happen on day one of my administration.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Sullivan.
The March 2020 executive order was a mistake. And I remember just reading the Constitution again. I go to the Constitution, I go to the law. As an attorney, that's the first thing we do. Can he do that? And if he can do that, what does the Constitution say? And what has the courts said about that provision of law? And I remember telling myself, no, he can't do that. He shouldn't do that, right? It's one thing to be able to do something, and it's to be empowered to do something. It's another to exercise caution. We were dealing with a pandemic, very onset of the virus. We didn't know what it was. We were hearing a lot of things. People were panicking. The last thing a governor should have done is to shut down the whole state and keep people at home. It complicates the matter. It complicates the issue, right? As governor, I will never shut this state down under any circumstances unless it's an act of the legislature. I will do what the law says. I will go to the Constitution and follow the law.
Thank you, Mr. Senator Darren.
Many people have asked me the last couple of weeks, do you think the governor's going to run again? What do you think he means when he's hinting about not running? Friends, I think that he knows I beat him once and I'm going to beat him again. That's what I think. It's government's role to educate and inform. It's the health department's role to educate and inform. Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act, 232 pages. Read it. It's an amazing document. You would have thought it was written just for exactly what we've lived through. But it spells out that the county health department helps out, and if they need help, they go to the state health department. If they need help, they go to the governor's office. It is not the government's role to shut down a free economy and destroy us. And it is our duty to stand up if that ever happens again. Governor Pritzker has absolutely no major means of authority to any of these executive orders. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I started. Okay, I'm sorry very much. Ooh. Okay, so understanding that, of course, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. We're going to give each of you about a minute or so to make a closing remark or give your elevator speech, if you will, on why, in fact, you should be the candidate for governor and why you think you can defeat Mr. Pritzker should he decide to run again. But we'll in fact start with Mr. Rabine. Your elevator speech as to why you should be governor. Then I'm going to start with Senator Schimpf. You know, I'm very flexible on that. I'm very flexible. Senator Schimpf, why should, in a minute or less, why should you be governor?
Well, folks, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. It is a privilege and an honor to share this stage with some great patriots and some great candidates for governor. Look, if we're going to beat J.B. Pritzker, we've got to do three things. First of all, we have to unify the Illinois Republican Party. We can't have a fractured party. I'm somebody that has a voting record. You know exactly where I stand. I'm a pragmatic conservative. I can unify our party. The second thing you have to do to win is you have to be able to give the voters a contrast between yourself and J.B. Pritzker. The voters are tired of the political class that think that they don't have to play by the rules. I'm somebody, I grew up the son of two school teachers. J.B. Pritzker moved his wealth overseas in order to dodge paying taxes. Well, I defended our country overseas while dodging incoming artillery rounds. You can't get a bigger contrast than that. And lastly, thank you. The applause time's going to use up my minute. Lastly, you have to be able to get crossover votes if you're going to win. There are just more Democrats than Republicans in Illinois. You got to be able to get crossover votes. I am the only candidate, in the race now, or anybody that's even looking at this race. I'm the only candidate that has won a Tier 1 election against a Democrat where I was significantly outspent. And I won that race against former Lieutenant Governor Sheila Simon by almost 22 points. We got outspent by over $300,000, and it feels good to make the Democrats waste their money.
Thank you, Senator.
Illinois is broken. We all know that. Right? We go through election cycles over and over again. We say the same things. We identify the problem. However, we have yet to see a leader who is bold enough, fearless enough to attack the problems. We need to fix Illinois. And that's what I bring to the table. I am fearless, and every leader in any point, as a matter of fact, all of us, we all have a frame of reference in whatever decision we decide to make. There's something inside of you or somewhere around you that you relate with. How can I do this? What can I do in this situation? For me, my ethics, my morals, my values, fiscally, socially, economically, are dictated and prescribed by my Christian faith.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I appreciate that.
Well, friends, we can all sit up here and tell you, we can talk the talk. That's easy. You want someone who can walk the walk. And I present to you that very point. Go to baileyforillinois.com, look up my messages for the last year and a half and even beyond that. I've never wavered. I'm the one that stood up in the House for the last 2 years and even in the Senate this year, challenging those people making these ridiculous laws and in committees. And I will not back down. No more compromise from Republicans. No more moderate Republicans. Illinois is desperately needs leadership. And I will do that. And when we do that, we will grow stronger as a party. The Republican Party has the answers for Illinois. And Democrats will respect that. They will respond to that when they are offered a seat at our table to come up with solutions that's going to turn this state around.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, last word.
Last word.
So I'm a paving guy. I didn't win an election yet, all right? I'm the outsider. There's other outsiders that have been doing pretty well in this country, okay? I'm a job creator. My passion is creating jobs. My passion is crushing bad economics. I've done this all my life, all right? 3 things have to happen in Illinois to make this a better state. We need to create jobs like we've not done in a long time. My goal is 50,000 jobs or more by 2024, and we're going to do it. My second goal is crushing property taxes. We talked about it already. We've got the worst property tax in the country. They've got to be crushed. They can't be capped. They're the highest in the country. They must be crushed. Crushing property taxes 50% or more, we're going to do it. As a leader, I find the best minds in the world to work on my team, and I found them. We've got the best economic minds on my team hired now to do these things. And lastly, the most important thing is families. We don't serve our families in Illinois anymore. We don't give them safety and security in our streets. You heard that today, and we're hearing that all over. We know. We sure don't give them a very good education. It's an indoctrination system at its highest. It's a Marxist system that's in front of us today. We need to crush these things. We need to serve our families, most importantly. But if we don't do that with more jobs, and we don't do that with fair taxes, it doesn't happen. My slogan as a paving guy is paving the way to stay. Paving the way to stay. We talked about this. Talked about college kids. How are we going to keep them here, right? Retired people with a little bit of money. They're not staying. We're overtaxing them with estate tax, right? We're going to be paving the way for people to stay. Every one of us in this room, when I'm the governor, is going to say, wow, this is a place I want to stay again. And an outsider can do it. An outsider that understands leadership, that understands how to inspire leadership to lead and help lead the state will be the trick. So that's me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rabine.